All right, so we just did the picking up, and if you haven't gone, go back and go ahead and look at that. But this is part two, completing your grip. So here's the deal. We're gonna use your imagination for a moment or two. So here's a nice plastic gun, and we just went through how to pick it up from the bench, very particular, right? Index finger on the frame, thumb wraps around. The last thing that happens is fingers wrap around the front, and we pick it up from the bench. Once we have this, we're going to continue our dry fire by doing little pieces. So you've done all of this, nothing else moves except your thumb. Okay, now that the air conditioning is off, so you'll be able to hear. So here is your next piece. You're going to pretend that you have a magazine on the table. So you're going to take your left index finger and pretend to put it on top of that imaginary magazine. You're going to then pick it up. Your finger is still tilted. You're going to turn your gun. Notice this is still pointing down range. You're going to take your imaginary magazine and you're going to look at the base of your grip, which is where your magazine is going to go. You're going to point and pretend to put it in, and then we're going to go straight back up and down. If you have a real gun to work on, excellent, but this is for people who are just learning to understand how this works. So index finger, front of the magazine, pick up, tilt gun, look to where it's going, touch the base, pretend to push it in, gun goes straight back and up, straight back up and down. So that's your first piece, right? Index finger, touch the table, pick up, turn, look, touch, pretend you're pushing it in. So that's one piece. You can do that another 5 or 10 reps, but this is how we break down the little pieces. So index finger on the imaginary magazine, pick up, tilt, point, touch, pretend you're pushing it in. Once it goes click, now we're going to go straight back up and down. So your next set of reps looks like this. The piece of your magazine is in. This would be locked back if it were a real gun. So our next step would be to put the slide forward. So right thumb goes up, left thumb goes on your slide lock. We use our whole hand to pull down to be able to drop our slide forward. Once it drops forward, we'll do the next step. However, we're just doing little pieces at a time. So we just finished putting our mag in. Our right thumb goes up. Our left thumb comes up here to our slide lock. We push this down and that releases the slide. So there's your next rep. You start with your hand here because we just put the magazine in. Your right thumb goes up. Your left thumb goes to the slide lock and we push it down. So I have a pellet gun here that will actually show you what will happen if you have a real gun. So we're going to pretend index finger, push that in, straight back up and down. Right thumb goes up, left thumb comes up here, pushes that down to allow the slide to go forward. So there's your next piece. So our first set was index finger, tilt the gun, push it in. That's your first set of reps. Then we start from our magazine is in, right thumb up, left thumb comes up to the slide lock, push that down to release the slide. Now we're going to continue on for the third portion of this. So start with your hands are wrapped around the grip with your thumb here on the slide lock. You're going to open those fingers and you're going to slide your thumb along the frame. What you're trying to do is get your palm to fill up this gap here. This is how people like to hold the gun because it's comfortable. It's not very helpful though. So thumb goes here, open our fingers. Slide our thumb along the frame to get our palm nice and high. And the last thing we do is fingers wrap around. They are touching our trigger guard because we're trying to use them for support. All right, so ready? Thumb is here. We just drop the slide. Fingers open. We slide our thumb along the frame, palm covers as much of the grip as possible. Fingers find the bottom of the trigger guard, wrap around, and then if this guy is still holding up, we put it down. Got it? So those are all the pieces. Little pieces of the whole thing is how you're going to learn it. And the reason we take the little pieces, like in, pop, thumb up, drop, slide, move thumb, palm, fingers, thumb back down, is a lot of steps. So if we just do, all right, I'm going to start from, I just dropped the slide. Now what do? All I have to do is open my hand up, let my thumb slide, palm fills the grip, fingers find the bottom of the trigger guard, and they're all together. A lot of students do this. Make sure your fingers are all together, find that bottom of the trigger guard, and wrap around. Again, if this guy is hanging straight up, go ahead, let it go down. So just that little piece, right? We were starting, oh, we dropped our slide, so we had to squeeze the whole thing to get that to come down. So we're starting from here. Open up hands, slide forward, palm nestles in, fingers wrap around. Again, this is because we're teaching our hands to do stuff that they don't normally do. Because we just want to grab stuff. That is just how we work. We just like to grab things. So by teaching ourselves thumb, then our thumb drags our palm. So palm, and then fingers is something you'll hear me say in class often. So let's say there was a ceasefire and you had your hand off and you just want to put, the slide was already closed because the gun's in your control, and you just want to add this hand. So then it goes thumb on the frame, palm on high on the grip, fingers all together, wrapped around. So that's another piece of this. You can practice just putting your left hand on. So it goes thumb on the frame. I'm going to show you this way so you see. I let my thumb just go along the frame so that my palm stays nice and high. Then my fingers are all together and I wrap around underneath. When you look over the top, your thumb and index finger are somewhere close to each other. My V is a little bit off, not gonna lie. This is the hammer. I want to get my V so it's better, so it's directly in between my index finger and my thumb, because even this little bit here, that's going to make for a very tired thumb. So I know we're talking about this hand and resetting, but you still want to pay attention to what else is going on. All right, so it's supposed to be a 5-minute video. It's already almost an 8-minute video. So here it is, little tiny pieces. So if we start from the beginning, the first thing that we did, was we created this grip from the first video. Second thing, index finger from the magazine, pick up, tilt the gun, see where you're putting it in, point your magazine in, go ahead and use your palm to press it the rest of the way out. Right thumb gets out of the way, left thumb comes up here. I can use my whole hand to pull that down, slide the thumb forward, palm nestles in, fingers wrap around, thumb goes down. You get to decide which pieces you want to work, and you can make it even smaller. You can just do, oh, I know my fingers are always like this. Let's just work on fingers together, find that bottom. Fingers together, find the bottom of the trigger guard. Fingers are always like this. I need to work on having them together. And there you have it. Break it up however it makes sense for you to do with whatever you have. Because if you just have a plastic gun, you can pretend there's a slide lock here and push down, slide, fingers. And then if you have, extra fancy stuff that actually moves, sometimes you can do the thing, but it doesn't work. Slide, fingers, thumb. And then of course, this guy, because as long as you know which end is the muzzle, because they do look kind of the same, make sure that V is right behind here when you pick this up. Thumb, palm, fingers. I know this one's a little bit harder to find that trigger guard, but oh wait, I almost forgot. Ready? Here's the bonus because you stayed almost till 10 minutes. Are you ready? This is the most amazing training ever. Are you ready? Okay, here you go. Right hand, make a gun. Hand, just like so. Left hand, take your thumb, put it along facing the wall. Thumb goes opposite of your index finger. Fingers wrap around. Thumb goes down. You have your invisible firearm, and you've still managed to practice thumb, palm, fingers. Thumb goes back down. Ta-da! It's your magic training. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed.